This is the Galaxy S10 Plus, and this is Samsung's latest flagship phone that in my opinion really sets the bar for the future of mobile computing. I've had this phone ever since the day it came out, so my feelings for it have really baked into me. But without further ado, here's the Galaxy S10 Plus review. So let's talk about the design. And after a decade of refinement, Samsung has really hit the nail on its head. It's sleek, bold, and elegant. From the curved glass wrapping around the sides up onto the aluminum, there's no doubt in my mind that this is the nicest looking flagship of 2019. Although that's good and great, I wouldn't say that this is the most durable phone, being covered in glass and metal. So I definitely recommend buying a case for it like the Spigen Neo Hybrid, because replacement parts are just so damn expensive. Okay, so design is important, but it doesn't really affect the way I use the device. But what does is the display. And this display is a reason to buy this phone, and that's no doubt in my mind. When I say this panel is good, I mean that it's really good. In dark environments, you can see that the screen gets blindingly bright, so I keep auto brightness on, just so I don't burn my eyes out. But all jokes aside, the added nits of brightness really help towards the visual clarity and immersiveness. Also, this display has great, oversaturated colors. This panel is not going to be the most accurate for photo or video editing, but in my regular daily use, saturated colors just make me want to pick up the phone and use it in its vivid glory. Just as a note, you pixel peepers will find no pixels on this display. Sorry. The display itself is great, but what some people may not see as ideal is the hole punch cutout thing. And in my opinion, it just kind of blends in with the rest of the notification bar. I don't really notice it that often. If you don't overthink that it's there, I'm sure you wouldn't notice it. Now diving deeper into the phone, let's look past the display and talk about Samsung's software. And I've been using Samsung's One UI and my feelings are mixed. The number one thing I really appreciate with Samsung's new breed of software is the one-handed usability. Everything from the settings app to the notification bar gets shifted down to the lower half of the screen, making it easier to press buttons and overall control the phone. Not only that, but Samsung's UI got a much needed and appreciated design overhaul. There's no longer a cheesy, neo-future, flamboyant design. That's kind of weird to say. But instead, Samsung went with round corners with bold colors and big icons, much closer to stock. The speed and fluidity of this UI is pretty much no problem, well, most of the time. Let me explain. So occasionally, when I'm simply using the phone with no extensive task taking up RAM or CPU power, the thing starts to lag and stutter. For instance, I go to swipe all of my notifications away and Galaxy S10 lags really bad. Another annoyance I have is when I sometimes go to open an app and it just doesn't open. Like I need to turn the phone off so I could just interact with it. Although these things happen very rarely, kinks in the road do build up and these are big annoyances. Samsung, you should really take care of this, especially when this phone has a Snapdragon 855 and 8 gigs of RAM. On a positive note, most of the time this phone is really lightning fast. More speed than you could ever need. Okay, so the final major point I want to bring up in this review is the cameras. And these three, more specifically lenses, let me have the most fun that I've ever had using a smartphone camera. By far the best lens out of the stash is the ultra-wide angle. You just have an incredible field of view that's unparalleled to anything else on the market. You could get some really insane shots with this lens that you could never get in years past. Now the ultra-wide angle lens is not to be confused with the wide. And the wide gives me some really interesting shots that look very nice. Good HDR, saturated colors, and in Samsung's fashion, a bit overexposed. Samsung's not a big fan of shadows apparently, but where this camera really shines is in pro mode. My least favorite lens out of the three is the telephoto. And this lens is good for video, but for photos, I find it kind of a nuisance and something I do not really need. Okay, out of technical land, what I'm trying to say is that you'll be really happy with the cameras on the back of this phone. Also, the front cameras are fine for pretty much everybody. They'll do the job and the portrait effects are cool, but I pretty much never need to take pictures of my face at Starbucks, so yeah, it doesn't really apply to me. Now onto the little things that I bet you've all heard of. Reverse wireless charging is in this flagship, and I find it useful to charge my Galaxy Buds, but not another phone because it'll take ages. But if you really want to, you could probably get away with flexing and charging somebody else's phone. The fingerprint reader is very hit or miss, but after the April update, it's working much better. Now I do have a Whitestone dome glass screen protector on my phone, and it does kind of interfere with the fingerprint reader's capabilities, but it probably works 7 times out of 10. And the headphone jack is still back for another year, but I pretty much don't plug anything into it because the speakers on this phone are rock solid. Samsung phones have always had a plethora of features packed in for the same price as their competition. The last 10 years have been kind of a test lab for Samsung to experiment with new ideas and designs and innovations. But the products Samsung came out with never really feel complete and only half-baked. Think of it like this. Samsung made phones that were jacks of all trades, but masters of none. After 10 years, Samsung's flagship legacy has matured into more of a Swiss Army knife, packed with useful tools without sacrificing usability or satisfaction. They've made a phone that's a pleasure to use, and I 100% recommend it to anybody who's looking to buy a device that would last for years to come. And that's why the Galaxy S10 Plus is a jack of all trades, but master of one. And that one is being a fantastic and enjoyable smartphone. Kudos to the last 10 years, and I can't wait to see what happens next.